Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile, last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, lover of Roman generals, notorious for her intelligence and beauty. Her story has echoed through time, captivating audiences for centuries. From Shakespeare to Hollywood, Cleopatra's name remains synonymous with charm and allure. But who is she really? Let's find out in today's episode. Hello and welcome to our channel where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. Some of the stuff we talk about may be offensive or disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. The origins of Cleopatra. Cleopatra's lineage can be traced back to Ptolemy I, one of Alexander the Great's generals. After Alexander's death, Ptolemy I seized control of Egypt and established the Ptolemaic Kingdom. This dynasty, however, had its roots firmly planted in Macedonian soil, with most of its rulers showing little to no connection with Egypt or its people. The language they spoke, customs they followed, and even their appearance were typically Macedonian rather than Egyptian. When Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy XII, died in 51 BC, he left behind not only a kingdom, but also a power struggle. His will designated Cleopatra and her younger sister Arsinoe IV as co-regents. Unfortunately, this sharing of power didn't last long. Their younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, usurped the throne just a year later. At that point, Cleopatra was only 14 years old. Now, there are different accounts of what transpired next, possibly due to propaganda by both sides. But here's one version of events. Cleopatra sought refuge in Rome after her brother took her throne. There she met Julius Caesar, a Roman general who was a prominent political figure at the time. He led his support to Cleopatra, and together they returned to Egypt in 48 BC. It was during this time that Cleopatra gave birth to Caesarion, also known as Caesar's son. Following Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, Cleopatra aligned herself with Mark Antony, another Roman general and the triumvir of the eastern provinces. They formed a powerful alliance that resulted in Cleopatra being recognized as the queen of not only Egypt, but also Rome's client states in the Levant. During this period, Cleopatra and Mark Antony had 3 children, twins, a son named Alexander Helios and a daughter named Cleopatra Selene. They also had a third child, a son named Ptolemy Philadelphus. As their relationship deepened, rumors spread of Cleopatra converting Mark Antony to Egyptian gods. These stories, while captivating, might be exaggerated or entirely fabricated. Nevertheless, it was clear that Cleopatra had a significant hold on Antony, so much so that he gifted her the city of Alexandria in Rome. However, Cleopatra's growing influence didn't sit well with Octavian, Mark Antony's rival and the future Emperor Augustus. He painted a picture of Cleopatra as a scheming, power-hungry temptress, influencing his former ally to take extreme measures. Octavian persuaded the Remang Senate to declare Cleopatra and Mark Antony enemies of Rome. This marked the beginning of the end for the Egyptian queen. In 32 BC, Octavian's naval forces confronted those loyal to Cleopatra and Mark Antony at the Battle of Actium. The decisive defeat that ensued led to Mark Antony's suicide and Cleopatra's abdication. Faced with capture and likely a humiliating public display at the hands of Octavian, Cleopatra chose to end her own life. According to Plutarch, she allowed an asp, a highly venomous snake native to Egypt, to bite her. She died peacefully in the arms of her lover, leaving behind a legacy that would live on for millennia: myths and realities surrounding Cleopatra. Despite her legendary status, much of what we know about Cleopatra comes from sources that were often biased against her. Historians like Plutarch and Cassius Dio presented narratives that portrayed her as either an evil seductress or a cunning monarch. However, these accounts were written decades, even centuries, after her death, and were colored by the political agendas of their authors. For instance, Cleopatra's decision to form alliances with Roman leaders was characterized as manipulation and seduction. In reality, it was a pragmatic approach to securing the interests of her kingdom. Similarly, her association with the Egyptian gods was twisted into tales of her converting Romans to Egyptian paganism, when in fact, she was simply honoring her own cultural beliefs. Cleopatra's appearance. Contrary to popular belief, Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. As mentioned earlier, her ancestry was Macedonian. However, this hasn't stopped her from being labeled as the most beautiful woman in the world. Throughout history, Cleopatra has been depicted with dark skin and other African features, which isn't accurate. Instead, her appearance likely resembled that of her statue in the British Museum, which suggests she had a Greek or Macedonian look. It's possible that some of the confusion arose from a misinterpretation of ancient texts. For example, descriptions of Cleopatra's beauty could be interpreted as references to darker skin tones, whereas her association with the Egyptian goddess Isis might have contributed to the notion of her being African. This misrepresentation has only been compounded by artistic depictions and popular culture. Cleopatra's intelligence. Cleopatra was renowned throughout the ancient world for her intelligence, which was evident in how she conducted her affairs. She understood the importance of appearances and used this knowledge to project an image of divine right. For instance, when interacting with foreign dignitaries, she chose to speak in their native languages. Moreover, she took great care in her choice of attire, ensuring it reflected the customs and preferences of the audience. One striking example of Cleopatra's intelligence occurred when she met with the ambassadors of Parthia, a kingdom located in modern-day Iran. On the advice of her council, she decided to appear before them in the traditional Parthian dress. Upon seeing her adorned in their customary clothing, the ambassadors were astounded, believing they had actually encountered a Parthian princess. Impressed by what they perceived as her genuine interest in their culture, the ambassadors were more inclined to believe Cleopatra's claims regarding her divine lineage and thus more willing to accept her as a legitimate ruler. Love life. Cleopatra's love life has been a subject of much fascination and debate. Her relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, two of the most powerful men of their era, continue to captivate our imagination. However, the details of these relationships and their portrayal in popular culture may not align with historical accounts. For instance, the famous story of Cleopatra and Mark Antony's romance has been heavily romanticized. Depictions often focus on their passionate love affair, while overlooking the political aspects that drove their partnership. Similarly, the narrative that Cleopatra seduced Julius Caesar may be more fiction than fact. It's possible that their meeting was less about romantic entanglements and more about political strategy, given that Cleopatra was seeking support to reclaim her throne. Cleopatra's death. The manner of Cleopatra's death has been a source of intrigue and speculation for centuries. The most prevalent account, as documented by Roman historian Plutarch, states that Cleopatra took her own life by allowing an asp, a venomous Egyptian snake, to bite her. This dramatic tale paints a picture of a queen willing to sacrifice herself rather than submit to her enemies. However, there are alternative theories regarding the circumstances surrounding Cleopatra's death. One such theory challenges the conventional wisdom that Cleopatra willingly ended her own life. Instead, it proposes that she was poisoned, suggesting that someone close to her might have played a role in her demise. This raises questions about the reliability of historical accounts and the possibility of hidden motives or conspiracies during the final days of the Ptolemaic kingdom. Cleopatra's legacy. Cleopatra's story has resonated throughout history, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and film. From Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra to the recent film Cleopatra, her tale continues to captivate audiences. Her image has become synonymous with beauty, intelligence, and power, making her an enduring figure in popular culture. Despite the biases and inaccuracies in many historical accounts, Cleopatra's legend persists. Her story serves as a reminder of the complexities of history and the need to critically examine the narratives that have been passed down to us. And that's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest episodes. And as always, if you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to drop them down below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay analytical,